Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to this explainer. I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you and I are sitting across from each other in the boardroom. You've just stepped up into a major executive role. The training wheels are totally off, the stakes are incredibly high, and suddenly, you are the final word on decisions that impact millions of dollars and hundreds of careers. Now, people are going to tell you to trust your gut. It sounds like great advice, right? It's the hallmark of the bold, visionary leader we always see in the movies. But as a mentor guiding you into these realities of high-stakes leadership, I really have to warn you. When we look at the data together, trusting your gut without understanding how it actually works is literally one of the most dangerous things you can do. Picture this. We have two very real scenarios. In the first, a veteran surgeon walks into an operating room, takes one glance at the patient, and immediately says, "Stop, something feels wrong." He halts the entire operation. And he was right. The patient had actually been prepped incorrectly. His gut feeling literally saved a life. But right next to it, we have a totally different story. An investor gets a super strong gut feeling about a flashy new startup. He just completely ignores the due diligence, trusts his intuition, dumps in $2 million, and loses absolutely everything. Both of these professionals relied on the exact same neurological mechanism, a gut feeling, yet they got completely different outcomes. One was a literal miracle, and the other was an absolute disaster. So the big question we need to answer today is, when should you trust your gut, and when is it secretly sabotaging you? Part 1, Inside Your Mental Shortcuts. To figure out the difference between our life-saving surgeon and our bankrupt investor, we kind of need to look under the hood at the battle going on in your brain between System 1 and System 2 thinking. System 1 is your fast, automatic, gut-driven response. System 2, on the other hand, is your slow, deliberate reasoning. We're going to focus on System 1. Behavioral economists like Daniel Kahneman call the gears turning inside it heuristics. Now, don't let the academic jargon intimidate you. Heuristics are simply mental shortcuts. They are the rules your brain relies on to make incredibly fast judgments without doing a full, exhausting analysis. And I want to be super clear here. Heuristics are not bugs in your programming. They're actually essential survival features. Think about it. Every single second, your brain is getting bombarded with millions of sensory signals. It literally cannot analyze all of them from scratch. So it uses patterns from the past to make fast predictions about the present. You've touched a hot stove before. Now, when you see a burning flame, you don't need to pause, calculate the temperature, and deduce the outcome, right? You just automatically pull your hand away. That is a heuristic. It's fast, it's automatic, and it saves your hand. The problem isn't that you have these shortcuts. The problem is when your executive brain applies these shortcuts to complex business situations that they were simply never designed for. Moving right along to Part 2, the strategy availability trap. This brings us to the first massive trap you are going to face as a leader. It's a mental shortcut that's absolutely vital for survival, but a complete liability when you're trying to design a corporate strategy. It's called the availability heuristic. Here's how it works. Your brain judges how likely something is to happen, based solely on how easily an example comes to mind. Basically, if you can remember it quickly, your brain automatically assumes it happens all the time. If it's hard to recall, your brain assumes it's super rare. Think about plane crashes. They are dramatic, terrifying, and plastered all over the news, right? Because of that, the memory of them is highly available to your brain. Car accidents, though, happen thousands of times a day, but rarely make international headlines. Consequently, people have a massively high fear of flying, even though the data clearly shows that driving your car is statistically far, far more dangerous. The event that felt dramatic and memorable actually became the brain's measure of actual risk. And what's really fascinating here is how directly this applies to your daily reality as an executive. Your brain does the exact same thing with business data that it does with those plane crashes. You might vividly remember the one time a major cold email campaign completely flopped. And based on that vivid memory, your gut tells you, oh, cold email is dead. But the reality, the actual data might show it's still a highly viable channel. Or maybe you recall a competitor's massive, embarrassing failure in a specific market, and your gut just assumes that entire market is radioactive, even though the data shows it's actually thriving. As your mentor, I really need you to internalize this. Your memory is a dramatic highlight reel. It is not a database. If we make strategic decisions based on a highlight reel, we are falling right into the availability trap. Section 3. Avoiding bad hiring biases. Let's pivot to the second crucial area where emerging leaders often stumble: building their teams and evaluating talent. Look, if we get this wrong, no amount of good strategy is going to save us. I want you to ask yourself a tough question and really think about the last person you hired or the last vendor you trusted.
Did you choose them because they actually had the proven skills to do the job, or did your gut just tell you they looked the part? It's a slightly uncomfortable question, I know, but answering it honestly is absolutely key to overcoming our next mental shortcut. This shortcut is called the representativeness heuristic. It basically means your brain judges the probability of something based entirely on how much it matches a familiar stereotype or category in your head. Daniel Kahneman proved this with a very famous experiment. He told people about a fictional woman named Linda. He described her as 31, single, outspoken, and very bright. He noted she studied philosophy and was deeply concerned with social justice. Then he asked a simple question: which is more likely? Option A, Linda is a bank teller. Or option B, Linda is a bank teller who is also a feminist. Well, the vast majority of people chose option B. But mathematically, guys, that is statistically impossible. A subset, feminist bank tellers, can literally never be larger or more likely than the whole group of all bank tellers. But because Linda sounded like a feminist, the brain just completely ignored statistical logic in favor of a story that simply felt right.
And this brilliantly illustrates why so many smart leaders make totally disastrous hiring choices. The representativeness trap tricks us every single day. In marketing, consumers constantly judge a product's actual quality by how pretty its packaging is. But in the boardroom, it's far more insidious. We judge a candidate's actual expertise by how confidently they speak in an interview. We judge a potential partner's trustworthiness simply by how familiar or comfortable they feel to us. We end up choosing candidates who sound like leaders or look like innovators over the candidates who have the actual, boring data to prove their competence. None of that is evidence. It's really just your brain matching patterns.
Section 4. When to trust instinct. Now, if your gut is constantly being tricked by availability and representativeness, you might be sitting there thinking, I'm telling you to ignore your intuition entirely. I'm absolutely not. There is a time and a place for it. And as an executive, you need to know exactly when instinct is actually a valid business tool. Kahneman gives us a really clear answer here. Your gut feeling is only reliable if two specific conditions are met. First, you must have massive, significant experience in that exact, specific domain. Remember our surgeon from earlier? He had performed thousands of operations. His intuition wasn't magic, it was compressed expertise. His brain had been trained on real data over years. Second, the environment must give you fast, clear feedback. Chess players can trust their gut because every single move results in an immediate, visible consequence. But compare that to a new executive making a long-term strategic bet or an investor playing the stock market. In a new domain where feedback takes months or even years to materialize, your gut isn't drawing on compressed expertise, it's just confidently, convincingly making things up.
Section 5, the executive decision checklist. So, how do we practically apply all this? Let's move into the masterclass portion of this explainer. I want to give you the actual tools to audit your intuition before it costs you your own $2 million investment. Here is your step-by-step guide for analyzing your mental shortcuts right in your daily workflow. Step 1 is the hardest. You have to pause before any significant decision. Do not let the momentum of the boardroom rush you. Step 2, ask yourself, am I judging this based on a highlight reel of what I easily remember, or am I actually looking at the data? Basically, am I afraid of a plane crash when I should be looking at the car crash statistics? Step 3, ask, am I judging this person or this strategy because it looks familiar and fits a neat stereotype, or because I've actually checked the hard evidence? The absolutely crucial point here is that just taking 60 seconds to ask these two questions can literally save you from years of cleanup. Let's build this into a final, concrete gut check checklist for you. Seriously, print this out, keep it on your desk. Whenever you feel a really strong instinct about a long-term strategy or a big new executive hire, ask yourself these two things. Do I have thousands of hours of experience in this specific, exact domain? And does this environment give me fast, clear feedback so I know if I'm right or wrong immediately? If the answer to both of those is no, and let's be real, in business strategy it almost always is, then you do not have permission to trust your gut. We must use the data. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you are sitting at the head of the table and a major decision just feels right, I want you to actively challenge your own overconfidence. Are you choosing this path because it offers the comfort of familiarity, or are you choosing it because it's backed by undeniable evidence? The difference between those two things is the difference between leading your company to the next level and being the investor who confidently loses it all. Always choose evidence over comfort. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.